Venerable bhikkhus, brothers and sisters, Buddha said to a person who has not seen the end of the world, that is the subject of the discourse today. I will repeat that statement again. I will not speak to a person about Nibbana unless he has seen the end of the world. In previous discourses, I have at length dwelt on this aspect of the world which each one of us are living in. When we refer to a world, it is what we have created, though we do not realize that it is so. We see a world around us. For one moment, we do not give thought as to how this world around us has been created. You are gifted with 6 sense bases. These sense bases provide you with visions about objects outside. Also you hear sounds outside. You also smells outside. You also experience tastes with your tongue. And you also experience contact with your body. And also you speak. You think about matters that arise in your mind. These are 6 sense bases that perform their functions in creating things for you. If you analyze the world you live in, that world consists only of these experiences which you have gained through the 6 sense bases. That is, all the sankharas that you can commit. And it is these sankharas that create the world. That is why Buddha clearly stated that each one of us lives in a world of our own, or that each one of us is a world. My world, which I have created with the 6 sense bases, is quite different to a world which you have created with your sense bases. There may be common factors, but it all depends upon how you have viewed the world, what interpretations you have given to those experiences you have gained through your 6 sense bases, and what values you have attached to them. Anyway, that which is around us is the world we live in. This world, as I told you, is a creation by the 6 sense bases. Why did Buddha say that unless one sees the end of the world, he would not speak about Nibbana to him? Let us admit the fact that we have created this world with our 6 sense bases. Now, can you say that the world you have created is a true world? A world which is existing as experienced by you? A world that is substantial, wholesome? Your interpretations in regard to all experiences you have gone through with your 6 sense bases as a worldling is upon the value of permanence, satisfactory nature, and the continuity of all experiences you have gone through. You have considered all these experiences as permanent experiences. All these experiences has something that is substantial, value attached to it. And all these experiences are continuing to exist. That is the aspect that one has to consider to get a proper assessment of the world around you. Buddha clearly indicated that all component things are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and soulless. What are the component things that you have experienced through your 6 sense bases? All visions that you have seen, experienced are component things. All the other experiences you have gained through the other 6 sense bases are all component things. They have been causally created. That is why we call them component things. But is that the way you have accepted these things? That they are causally created? You have not accepted that they have been causally created. You have accepted them as seen by you, a worldling who is existing, who can experience these things with the sense bases provided to him, and that they are true, acceptable, and convincing. That is the value you have given to these things. On the face of what have you given these values? You have given these values on the face of the false notion you have created in your mind that there is a being in you, and it is this being who has seen these things, experienced these sense activities. That is the thing that has to be challenged now. We have clearly indicated in previous discourses that the consciousness who creates the thought for you to experience sense-based activities is also a conjurer who is capable of misleading you with delusions created in the mind. The greatest delusion that the mind has created is to create a being in you as the person, as the author of all your sense-based activities. I have given you a detailed account about how this so-called being has been created in you. The very same thought that enables you to perform the sense-based activities in the way of seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, contacting and thinking. The very thought creating that thought for you to experience the sense-based activities also created, on the other hand, a delusion in you about a being present in you who experiences these things. The mental factors that created the thought to experience the sense activities, you also created in that very thought the delusion that there is a being in you. You have lived in this delusion. You have accepted this. And there has been no occasion for you to doubt that this being is not in you. The worldly mind lives on this notion that there is a being in him. And all experiences he goes through in the world is an experience gone through by this being. That is the notion. That is the conclusion he has arrived at. And he lives in that. He has lived in this notion for the last so many births, not being able to realize the true nature of himself. He has believed his eyes. He has believed his experiences gathered through his ears. Experiences gathered through his nose. Experiences gathered through his ear, through his tongue, through his body and through his mind. For a worldling, there is nothing to doubt about these experiences. Even the so-called educated, intelligent people, they too have shared the same notion about these experiences, because they are so intricately woven to mislead you completely, leaving no room for you to challenge them. Therefore you have lived in them. Till the truth was revealed by Buddha 2600 years ago, that incidents occur as a result of cause and effect, and that all incidents are causally created. There is no person as such in any one of us who commit these acts, but the consciousness who creates the thought for you to experience these activities has created this false notion in you in the way of the five grasping group being created to erect this individual personality in you. And you have seen and experienced all the activities around you through this individual. Therefore, you have the reason to believe that the worldlings in the world have individuals like that who perform their activities, and they have common visions, common things to hear, common things to taste, common things to experience as smells, and also other sense activities are all commonly shared by them. Because after all, it's an individual within this so-called worldling that experience these things. If a person experiences something as a direct result of what he has seen or what he has heard and what he has smelled, or other experience he has gone through the six sense bases, is quite different from an incident that has occurred as a result of cause and effect. There is a difference. Here is an individual seeing a thing, and here is something causally created. The individual who has experienced the sense-based activities has experienced these activities through bases created in the human body, making use of the mind as his possession. And individually he has experienced these objects. Whereas the actual incident is concerned, they are in the body and the mind. When a certain incident occurs, let us say seeing something, there are many components that contribute to the vision you have experienced. Therefore, the normal impression every one of us have as worldlings is that which I see, others also see in the same way. And there is some common feature prevalent in this world that you have created, where every one of us share similar views. But bear in mind, the realistic aspect of things is not that. It is your mind that has created this thought. The circumstances that has contributed to the creation of the thought are varied. Therefore, there may be a common impression, but when it comes to a question of individual assessment, values, and the impressions created, there is my individual world which I have created, which is quite different from the individual world another has created. The circumstances that produce the experiences I went through are not common or same as it would have been to another person who has gathered that impression about this vision or whatever experience he went through. Therefore, we live in different worlds. Abilities are concerned, skills are concerned, then the factors that has contributed to the creation of an impression through a sense base, those factors are not common in every respect to individuals. That is why Buddha said that each of us are living in a world of our own, though it is not felt that way. Why is it not felt that way? Because we have the wrong belief that there is an individual within us who is performing the act of these six sense bases. Whereas it is not so. There is the mind and the body performing certain activities and such activities contribute to create this thought which gives us the experience we have gone through the sense base. Therefore, there is a variation. We all have created different worlds and we live in different worlds. Though there is a similarity observed from outside, merely because you have that impression that it is a person within you like that of another individual or worldling who sees and who functions these sense bases and and give the impression. But as they are causally created, you see, there is no similarity in the impressions created about the world. There is no one common feature in all these things. If that be the case, then we can say each one of us have created the world, and all these worlds are similar to each other. Whereas it is not. When you think of yourself, your nature and your character, your behavior pattern, your values, you will see that there is much difference between yourself and another person. There are common features, but majority of the contributions to create this world are of a different type and not common to each other. That is why Buddha said that all of us are living in different worlds. And the other thing is, you have to bear in mind that you have built this world on wrong values. You have considered that this world which you have created is permanent. You have also considered that this world which you have created is something of substance, value. You also created this world as something permanently existing. In regard to these three matters of permanent satisfaction and permanently existing. When in reality, it is just the opposite of these three things that realistically exist in this world which you have created. That is a world of impermanence, unsatisfactory nature, and that is soulless. You can well imagine whether the world you have created is a true world or a complete fabrication, depending on false values which you have gathered. Buddha said that unless you see the end of this world, you cannot discuss about Nibbana. Why did he say that? He said that for many reasons. One thing. First and the foremost thing is, if you are the creator of this world, who are you? You are only mind and matter. There is no individual present in you realistically. Then who created this world for you? This world was created by circumstances which you experience through your sense bases, and by the thought you created in yourself. If characters of all of us are not similar to each other, if our values are not similar to each other, if our pattern of behavior is not similar to each other, there are thousands and thousands of variations in us when compared one with the other. You can imagine the world each one of us have created. And based on three important false values, what are they? That your creation is permanent, satisfactory, and existing without a change. Whereas the realistic aspect shown by Buddha is that everything in this world is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and soulless. Now you can imagine what a world you have created around you. Though it appears to be so realistic, so impressive, that there is no doubt at all in your mind that the world is not existing around you, because the impression it has created is so firm and so fixed and so misleading that you do not see the realistic aspect of the circumstances that has created the world. Therefore you have believed in it, lived in it, and you have ample faith that it is a world existing around you. Now the challenge is that the world around you is a fabrication. That the world you live in is not the true world. It is something which your imagination has created. What is the, so to say, the measure or standard upon which we have to value the creation of ours in order to find out whether it is a fabrication, a false creation around you, or whether it is a true world? First, there is one accepted, truthful measurement, or so to say, which we can easily make use of, and that is the three realities Buddha has revealed to the world. And those three realities are impermanent, unsatisfactory nature, and the soullessness. These are unchallengeable truths, truths that are accepted and established even by science as true and existing. Now if we challenge the world that you have created on the base of these realistic values, you have to admit the fact that what you have created is a complete fabrication. Ask yourself the question whether the world that you have created is a permanent or impermanent world. When to your normal mind even you can see changes going on around you, and to a development mind it is much more conspicuous than to an ordinary mind. Yours is a mind that has been nurtured to go along a path for your leading to a salvation. Therefore it has created better values, better understanding, better realization of the true nature of things. And with that developed mind of one, if one could assess the world he has lived in the past before such development occurred in him, you will see that he has lived completely in pure imagination, a fabrication by the mind, a delusion created by the consciousness. Buddha says, so long as you believe in the world you live in, Nibbana is not with you. or he would not discuss Nibbana with you. He would not direct you to Nibbana, because now you know that you have completely been misled by the world that has been created around you. Wrong values have been created in you. The eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, mind. They have misled you completely. And so long as you live in this fabrication created by these sense bases, accepting the worldly way on the surface as permanent, satisfactory and soulless, and with a soul, you have to yourself admit the fact that your entire existence, so to say, in this universe, completely a fabrication. You have yourself misled you. You have created a world around you in your imagination, and that there is no truth in that creation. If we take one example, if something is impermanent and that is the realistic aspect of the object, and if you say that your eyes and your sense bases directly show you something permanent in that, which is the truth? The reality that has been revealed by Buddha cannot be challenged. It has to be accepted and well proved by science. Therefore, that object about which you have expressed an opinion is impermanent. There's constant change going on in that object. But you refer to an object which is permanent, and who has led you to that belief? Your eye, your ear, your nose, your tongue, your body and your mind. In the other aspect too, in the other qualities too, like satisfactory, substantial, all that you observe through your six sense bases, you believe, but it is not so. When something is constantly changing from one condition to another, what is substantial in that? There's nothing of value in that. It's a change that you see. You also see around you, experience around you objects, and clearly you see that there is no change taking place in them. The object that was there 6 months ago still remains to be the same object in your eyes. There too you have been misled that when all these are subject to change constantly from one condition to another, so the sense-based equipment provided to you by nature hasn't the capacity to catch that change. You have completely believed in something wrong, something false, something misleading, that these are ever present in you without a change. So with regard to these three characteristics, when you have accepted permanent nature in impermanence, when you have accepted something substantial where there is no substantial nature in, everything is constantly changing and nothing of value there is empty, but you have accepted something substantial in that. When what was there a few minutes ago, a fraction of a second ago, is not in the same condition as it is now. When that change has gone through for so many times, every fraction of a second is one series of changes going on, and you have accepted that it has not gone through any change. Therefore, you can well imagine and assess for yourself if there are any value in all that you have experienced through your six sense bases. Clearly understand, because we have a very powerful challenge to the sense bases. So much so that Mara, evil one, on one occasion when Buddha was addressing a crowd of bhikkhus, assembly of bhikkhus, about Nibbana, he appeared before Buddha and said how he could speak about Nibbana to the assembly of bhikkhus who are making use of his equipment. He said, this eye is mind, the ears are evil one's possessions, equipment, and so are the other sense bases. I have provided, he said, these things for their enjoyment, for their continuity in the cycle of births. And when they are making use of them, how could one direct these bhikkhus along a path for the attainment of Nibbana? Buddha accepted it. Buddha said, yes, Mara, what you say is true. The eyes are yours, the nose is yours, the ears are yours, all the other sense-based Equipment are your equipment. They are not for discontinuity, they are for continuity. They show something completely false, fabrication. The delusion is created by these equipment in the person who possesses them. And in the midst of such a delusion, when he is living in those, having accepted those delusions as true, how could there be Nibbana before him? Suppose Buddha explained to Mara that the Nibbana which he speaks about is not in level with experiences gained through the sixth sense basis. It is something which the individual has to develop his mind to a high degree and realize. Mara, of course, could not speak anything beyond that. He left the place. Even Buddha accepted the fact that the equipment we are possessing is not our equipment, but equipment provided by Mara for us to lead a life in this world. And what is this life that we lead in the world? Completely a fabricated, false life, a mere illusion. Because none of these equipments, and science proves that, is showing you the exact nature of anything they experience. That is why Buddha said, if a person is living in a world created by him, and he believes in that world, I will not speak about Nibbana to him. Why did he say that? Now you understand. Because if he believes in what the sense bases have provided to him in the way of experiences through them, and he trusts them, he accepts them, then he will be accepting something which is not realistically present. It's completely misled by the fabrication created by the sense bases. Completely misled by the delusion he has experienced through them. When in reality, all that they have shown us, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your tongue, your body, your mind, completely false and created false concepts in us. A person who is living in a world like that, created by the sense bases, a person who accepts such a world as true, could there be a final peace like Nibbana to a person like that? Our battle, brothers and sisters, is from the time we are born, we are misled completely. All the equipment that have been provided to us are misleading equipment. And Buddha, in his attainment to Buddhahood, realized that there is one thing in us that can be helpful to realistically understand the true nature of things, and that is your consciousness. In one way, when it is performing its tasks in the way of creation of thoughts, in a worldly way, it is a misleading. May I ask you the question, whether the consciousness referred to what it has done so far to you is misleading? What it has so far created to you is something wrong, something fabricated? One would then ask the question, if it is so, how can you make use of this consciousness to find something true? That is something intricate, something which you must realistically understand. Composition in its consciousness in its original condition is nothing but mental energy. It is pure. It is clean. It has no shape and form. It is only energy. When the mental energy that is present in you is disturbed as a result of an object catching any of the sense bases, then this mental energy performs the act of consciousness attached to that sense base. The term consciousness normally is a term given to the mental energy when the mental energy is in contact with the sense base. Before that is pure energy. And it is clearly stated by Buddha that this energy is completely tainted, discolored, or made in an improper manner as a result of the object that is introduced into the energy for the creation of a thought. Thought is the outcome when the object contacts the energy. Energy by itself is not discolored, it's pure. But brothers and sisters, when the object is something impure, something incorrect, something false, something fabricated, something in the nature of an illusion, when it contact with this energy, the thought is created. Depending on the object which has contact with the energy, depends the validity of this thought that you have created. That is why Buddha has made use of this energy in a developed way, and also made those people who make use of this energy to realize the true nature of things as impermanent, unsatisfactory and soulless. These are gospel truths, these are wisdom. And if one could make use of those three qualities which are permanent, which are really wisdom, unchallengeable wisdom, acceptable and amply proved in every sense as unshakable realities, when this energy makes use of these wisdoms, then you really can have a test about your true self. Asking a thought which you have created about impermanence, whether your body and mind is anything permanent. In the face of that impermanence, which is the gospel truth, this delusion that is created in us that this is permanent, the thought is permanent, it has no place at all to challenge the truth. Now, what we are doing as Buddhists is we are developing our mind in wisdom. What is the wisdom we are developing? That everything in this world is impermanent, unsatisfactory and soulless. That cannot be challenged by any authority. That is a reality. And when that reality, in connection with the mental energy, creates a thought, that thought is a true thought. And what we are doing as persons following this religion is preparing our mind by making use of this energy to realistically see through things with the wisdom Buddha has given to us. And that wisdom is nothing but impermanence, unsatisfactory nature of things and soullessness. Isn't that the truth that you apply to any situation? To test whether what your eye shows you is true, you make use of that wisdom, impermanence, unsatisfactory nature of things and the soullessness connected with the mental energy, and you test this experience I have gone through whether it is true or not. The eyes may have shown you something permanent, but the realistic aspect is impermanent. That is the thought created by the mental energy with the wisdom. And in the face of that thought, if you challenge what the mind has created, you find that is a false creation. So in every respect, in regard to experiences you have gone through in the creation of this world around you, through your eye, through your nose, through your tongue, through your ears, through your body and through your mind, now you begin to realize that all are fabrications, delusions, because they have made use of this energy in an undeveloped way to accept the worldly way of looking at things, and the worldly way is completely a misguiding, false delusion. And you have lived in that worldly way. Now Buddha shows you a path where you have to develop your mind to a high degree in order to realize the wisdom revealed by him, and then make use of that wisdom with the mental energy in the creation of thoughts, and analyze everything that is around you with that standard measure. And when you analyze with that standard measure everything that you have experienced in the world, with your eyes, ears, nose and tongue and mind, body, you realize that these equipment that has been provided by Mara for you to exist in this world and continue to exist in this world have misled you completely. And you have been living in this world, birth after birth, thousands and thousands of times, because you had the opportunity to come across this truth revealed by Buddha, the three realities of life, which is the standard measure out of which you can find out exactly what you are, and whether your living is actually true or not, and everything that is of value to you now are of value realistically. All that can be challenged by these three truths. Isn't that what we are trying to cultivate in the Buddha way? We are making use of these three things and nothing else. Impermanence, unsatisfactory nature of things, and the soulness of. These are the three truths. This is the wisdom that we are cultivating. In your attainment to stream entry, you have cultivated these three realities in your mind up to a degree, not fully. In your attainment to the second stage of once eternal, you have got rid of so much of attachment, therefore the mind is a little purer. And in that pure state you have introduced these three realities, and you have now seen these three realities in a better way, with a higher standard than you experienced it at the time of the stream entry, once eternal state. And when you develop your mind further and further, getting rid of the defilement that has discolored your mind. And when you practice these three realities, you will see, you realize the true nature of the three realities much better than you did when you entered the stream, when you experienced the once eternal stage. At the third stage, non-returnal stage, that truth is very clear to you. Still there are beliefs, still there are views, false views in you, which you have to get rid of because they are discoloring your mind. And when these three truths are further developed within you, with the concentration and other equipment that you have gathered along the path, you realize, brothers and sisters, that you realistically see the world in a realistic sense. What is the realistic sense through which you see the world? That everything you see is impermanent, unsatisfactory and soulless. Everything you hear is impermanent, unsatisfactory and soulless. Everything you smell is unsatisfactory, soulless and impermanent. Everything you experience as taste, impermanent, unsatisfactory and soulless. Everything you have experienced in the nature of context are all unsatisfactory, soulless and impermanent. And all your thoughts are also impermanent, unsatisfactory and soulless. Then I am asking you the question, is there anything that you have seen substantial? The next question that have you experienced anything through your ears, anything substantial? Ask the question in regard to all other experience gained through your six sense bases. Have you gained anything substantial? Anything of value, anything existing in this world? You have gathered nothing. And you ultimately realize through your developed mind, that this body is also a mental fabrication. This body also you begin to feel nobody at all in your mind. Mind has transcended itself to a higher stage when it can realistically understand the three realities. And in that condition of mind, this body does not exist in you. Then with regard to the thinking aspect, that is the last thing with which you have to make a struggle, final struggle. To challenge the thinking process, this consciousness, challenge it and see whether it is something substantial. You would develop your mind to a high degree, to a state of complete equanimity, not attached to anything, not averse to anything, state of pure equanimity. And in that pure state of the mind, you start challenging the mind, you start analyzing the mind whether it is permanent, whether it is substantial, whether it is not changing. You find that the opposite is happening there. That very mind, that very consciousness that is there now in a state of equanimity is also impermanent, unsatisfactory and soulless. Is there anything in you then, brothers and sisters, which is substantial? Is there anything in you that you can say this is there and that is there and this is there? You begin to realize that what the six sense bases display to you are completely a fabrication. There is nothing in those. You have believed in them, planting in you a person who is the author of all your beliefs, all your activities through the six sense bases. All these are misleading fabrications, ultimately leading you along a path to have repeated births and deaths. And now you have gone along the right track. You have got rid of this consciousness of the body. And that I can tell you in your third absorption, you see, you experience yourself. You don't feel anything about the body in your third absorption. The fourth absorption, certainly the body is not felt by you. Now the mind has reached a high level of realization. And in that state of mind, you begin to see the mind itself. And then you consider the mind as something impermanent, something unsatisfactory, something soulless. As you go on meditating on the mind, reflecting on the mind carefully, this mind which is in a state of equanimity, you will see the mind also quietly, little by little, vanishes from your view. And you reach a state when there is nothing. And that is the void. Awareness that you are in the void is there. But there is nothing that is substantial in you now. Body is not felt. Mind that appeared to be the dominant factor which gave you all these impressions, that also has reached a very high degree and has disappeared from your view. What is there in you? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Is that what you realize ultimately? That is your final realization. And Buddha said that he will speak about such a realization to you because you have seen the end of the world which you have created. And what is the world that you have created? The world of experiences gained through the six sense bases. You have gone through that world and that world has vanished from you now. You have seen to the end of the world. And then now Buddha speaks of Nibbana to you. And the Nibbana which he refers to at that stage is that there is nothing in the world that is permanent, everything is impermanent. There's nothing in this world existing as substantial, everything is not substantial, empty. And there is nothing in the world that continues to exist without a change. Everything is soulless. These are the three realities ultimately you realize, brothers and sisters. Where do you realize them? Within you. Where is this Nibbana which you search for? Is here, not there. You created there something imaginary. Now you realize that there is imaginary. And ultimately you realize that the so-called peace that you hunted for, that what you gave values to are all absolutely useless, all creations by the mind. And the final achievement of yours is you are at peace. Nothing there is to hang on, nothing to cling to, nothing to call my own, nothing that has been created by the six sense bases acceptable as truth. You really still understand that all that is delusion and nothing else. That is why Buddha said, that is the world you have created, it has completely crumbled now to the earth. No more world exists for you. Thereby you have seen the end of the world, brothers and sisters. And when you have seen the end of the world, Buddha refers to you, that is Nibbana. And he refers to Nibbana at that stage too, because that is the only stage when you can realize the true state of Nibbana, which is nothing but what you have realized within you. It is not something that is existing outside. All that has been created by you outside is complete delusion created by the six sense bases. You have realized that delusion, and now you live in complete peace. As a worldling, brothers and sisters, you have to make use of your eyes, your other sense bases, as an Arahat who has reached that great height. But he knows what he sees. He knows what he hears. He will not be misled by any of those things. But in a worldly way, when he exists, he have to accept up to a point what is happening around him. Because his entire construction is a worldly construction. His consciousness is a worldly consciousness, not a consciousness that can live in Nibbana. His body is a worldly construction. Now he is making use of this worldly equipment for his existence till this span of life is over. That is why Buddha says that you finally give up everything at the time of your death. And that is the last stage, when a human being gives up everything, leaving nothing. And that is the state of Nibbana you will achieve. May you all attain Nibbana. Thank you.